South African billionaire Elon Musk was at the meeting with South African President Ramaphosa and Trump, where Trump tried to give him the Zelensky treatment and tried to badger him into admitting that there's a white genocide happening in South Africa. We just had an interview where we laid this out pretty clearly, but if you're just coming to this clip, I'll say that's not happening.
They're afraid of land reform.
You should listen to Benjamin Fogel and what he had to say about it, but it's less than 50 farm murders in a year over the course, and I think it's
in a violent society,
less than 1% of the population that was killed in these murders, and half of those murders were also black people on farms.
Right, and it's inequality that's leading it to opportunistic violence, not a race war ideology to just kill white people or white farmers.
Right. So but largely Elon Musk has kind of receded from public life because, or at the very least political public life, because he was putting on the cheesehead in Wisconsin. He broke records for the amount of money that was spent in the judicial race in this country, and he got his ass whooped. And here's Harry Enton over on CNN, who always has these fun little segments, can't help but enjoy these, explaining that dynamic and why Elon has become so toxic politically.
How low can you go?
And just a second.
Apologies, here we go.
How low can you go? Oh my. Okay, take a look here. Elon Musk net favorability rating. Look at this shift. Back in 2017, before he really started this politics thing, he was at plus 24 points. Look at where he is now. Whoa, he fell through the floor. Minus 19 points. Among Democrats, the poll is even more dramatic. We're talking about going from plus 35 points on net favorability rating. That is quite a popular guy among Democrats. To get this now down to minus 91 points. You can't really go lower than that. I guess you could go down to minus 100 points, but he became political kryptonite. He was...
Okay, so CNN has a big budget. I want them to send reporters out to find the 9% of Democrats who are still pro Elon Musk, because it's James Carville and like Fareed Zakaria.
It's embarrassed Tesla owners who don't want to admit it.
Yeah, right. Or just, yeah, that's got to be it. That's got to be it. But there's always those like 3% of voters who are like Democrats who support Trump or something, or think he's doing a good job.
Yeah.
Who think we have two moons.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can find a decent sized percentage of people who believe anything. That's like the dangers of a very public world we live in now.
Yeah.
A flat earth and yeah.
Lower than that, I guess you could go down to minus 100 points, but he became political kryptonite. He was greatly disliked by the American public and greatly disliked by Democrats. And obviously we saw that in Wisconsin when, of course, he spent all that money and then the liberal won that Supreme Court race.
Yes. How has that plummet of popularity impacted the brand?
Yeah, exactly right. So this is Elon Musk individually. How about Tesla? Okay, let's take a look. The net favorability rating. Look, General Motors, we're going to...
By the way, you guys laugh at this, but this is what Tim Pool calls seventh generational warfare, is attacking this guy's car company.
Here, General Motors and Tesla. General Motors quite...
Go ahead, Brandon.
No, I thought you were referring to seven generational warfare. Like this, that was like Elon Musk's strategy, and I was going to say like it's only 7 generational warfare on Elon Musk's part if like those generations have been interbreeding, because this is the worst business plan I've seen in my entire life.
Nobody was texting war plans.
Keep going.
About Tesla. Okay, let's take a look. The net favorability rating. Look, General Motors, we're going to compare General Motors and Tesla. General Motors quite well liked by the American people, plus 23 points on net favorability rating. But look at Tesla, minus 20 points. So this idea that Tesla could somehow separate itself out from Elon Musk, the American people saw it the exact same way. And of course, Tesla is a business. They're in the business of selling cars. Awfully difficult to sell cars when you have a minus 20 point net favorability rating driven by Elon Musk's net favorability rating right around the same mark. And it's not a big surprise that Tesla sales had fallen in the past, at least in the first quarter, compared to where they were a year ago. It turns out that Elon Musk political kryptonite was also becoming kryptonite for selling cars.
So, well, and one person maybe that matters to Elon Musk, maybe, well, other than his investors, would be Donald Trump. How has Trump's view of him shifted?
Yeah, so, we're talking about Tesla here, but of course he's leaving the political game. Okay, Trump loved talking about Elon Musk at the beginning of his administration. Trump posts about Musk on Truth Social. Look at this. From January 20th to April 4th, he posted about 40 times. Look, from April 5th onward, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Donald Trump knows brands very well. He knows political brands, and Elon Musk political brands time had run out, and therefore Elon Musk taking a step back from politics.
Trump's like, Elon, have you ever heard of this?
Condoms. Does everybody know what a condom is?
Not Elon.
Can we just get this cut of Enton doing this acting out of Elon taking a step back? This is broadcasting.
And therefore, Elon Musk taking a step back from politics.
Enton is great. And I do want to just...
I was going to say, of all the freaks at CNN, and there's a lot of freaks, Harry Enton is my favorite. He's an adorable freak.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, he has amazing theater kid energy, and I also feel like sometimes he has the exact same like intonations as Trump, and so you could imagine like almost Trump saying some of these things. Like the hand gestures are very similar. But I did also just want to point out that April 4, April 5th discrepancy is very important, because April 1st was when that Supreme Court election happened in Wisconsin, and so gave him like 3 more days. I assume the last tweet was on the last truth that was truthed out was on April 4th. And then he saw the writing on the wall, just stop talking about him. Just like, stop saying anything.
Right.
But isn't that odd? Because normally Donald Trump doesn't do quiet breakups. Usually it's going balls to the wall, screaming at whoever left his administration. When someone leaves on bad terms, you know it. And that's clearly because they're getting rich together. That's got to be the only explanation is that even if Elon's not publicly facing, they have some crypto scam that they're engaged in behind the scenes. It's got to be.
Yeah, I think that this is the most bizarre of the, end of a Trump political relationship, if it even is fully happening. Because, to be clear, as far as we know, Musk is just saying this stuff because he's still certainly active in talking about politics, and he's certainly out there and engaging with this stuff. But based on the reporting, it seems like Trump, unlike when Trump dismisses other people, Trump doesn't seem to necessarily have had any fallout with Elon. It's Trump's cabinet that had the falling out. There's the reporting now that there was a big meeting that Trump called because he was tired of hearing Musk say one thing about people in his cabinet, and then his cabinet say one thing about Musk. So he just wanted them to hash it out. So he called this big meeting with all of them, and they all fought apparently and yelled at each other. And that's what made Musk sort of realize he was alone in this and step back. So this is an odd one. Trump usually is the one who has the beef. I don't think Trump has any beef with Musk yet, and that's probably why he's quiet quitting Musk, if he's even doing that. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I would have loved to see that meeting. It would have been like an episode of The Apprentice, like the boardroom scenes.
Right. What I want everyone, and I don't think this is news to anyone watching this, but maybe it'll make them think about how they talk about this stuff for people who this does work on. You don't get to just enter politics in the way Musk did. Change up everything the way Musk did. Whether we're talking about the campaign and the hundreds of millions he put into it, or his work with Doge and literally cutting people's livelihoods who've spent their lives to become park rangers or what have you, and now they've lost everything. You don't get to just step in, do all that, and go, oh, I've had enough because of the falling out and how it's bad for me. I want things to go back to how they were before I got involved. I'm stepping back. You don't get to do that here. And everyone here should make sure this follows Musk for his entire life. The protests at Tesla should not stop. These sorts of things have lasting effects, what Musk has done. So Musk should feel the lasting effects of causing it too. You don't get to just say, I'm out when you're getting involved in politics the way Musk did.
No, and he also was doing Sig Heils at the inauguration and trying to hand out money as bribery schemes to help Donald Trump get elected. He purchased Twitter because he was mad at journalists and media figures for accurately reporting on his actions or that of, of other conservatives. He destroyed the major journalistic communications platform and probably took a loss to do so. But the reporting is that he used his Tesla stock as collateral to purchase Twitter. And if this continues to go the way it's been going, then there may be margin calls if that stock price falls below a certain figure, because he may not have, if he were to liquidate, the money that he would need to back up that purchase. And this just came out earlier today that BYD, the electric vehicle maker in China, that has started lapping Tesla in Europe, which is a huge, do we have this centered? Yeah. Which is really significant for for China trying to break into this market. BYD company sold more electric vehicles in Europe than Tesla for the first time, overtaking the American brand that's long led the continent's EV segment. China's
BYD makes
automaker
better cars
registered
than Tesla too. This isn't just like, obviously this is happening. This is spurred by the protests against Tesla, but also BYD makes if you've seen the videos of people who go to China and check out these BYD cars and make videos about them, they are a better vehicle. They are cheaper. They are better made. Technologically, they're more advanced. They have all the bells and whistles that even Tesla doesn't have, that you couldn't even dream of. So it's, I got nothing against China. Why should we we shouldn't be able to buy these products that are better than these American competitors just because our government has some beef with China? I don't care.
Well, because
it's not just Tesla. It is better than any car we make in America. And we have this racist belief that and complacency that China can't do things better than we can. Like, okay, they can make T-shirts very cheaply, or they can make shoes very cheaply, but we got the high-tech stuff cornered, so we're good. And so we can just trust South African billionaires like David Sachs or guys like Mark Andreessen or Elon Musk to steward innovation for us, and they fucked it up. They've blown it for the and going back to like Zuckerberg and Bill Gates, all this shit. Like, what have we been doing?
But that's all been captured by capitalists too. It's not it's racism, as you say, again, but it's also a completely like religious belief in free market capitalism as the most efficient model, when we are now seeing in real time how actually centralized state planning is producing way better results than what we're doing right
exactly now. So Xi Jinping, he had the folks from DeepSeek AI in, and he's like, it's good, we want the private and public sector, but this has to be in the national interest. Now look, I think from a Marxist thing, you'd want to say it needs to be in the interest of the international proletariat, right? But it's better to be in the national interest than in the interest of the most venal, greedy, psychopathically, money-grubbing people in the world, which is what the American system does.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think to answer Matt Binder's question with perhaps like the obvious truth is that DEI is good when it's for white South Africans and subpar American goods. That's the underlying truth here. And to be fair, I think even Elon is honest about this. The value of Tesla is not tied up in the quality of the cars they make. It's tied up in the narrative surrounding Elon Musk as a businessman, as like the modern day Nikola Tesla and Tony Stark, and like the promises that he makes about the future capabilities of his car, which have not been fulfilled in the time frame that he laid out. And so a lot of it getting into politics was to, stave off the inevitable bankruptcy of Tesla, the inevitable crashing of that stock, which would cause him personal financial difficulties as like the stock becomes like right sized in terms of market cap. And, I think he only ends up hastening that reality by getting involved in the Trump administration so visibly. Now he's learning why billionaire oligarchs tend to prefer to work behind the scenes, which just shows you how like not good of a businessman that he is, because he's made himself the face of the oligarchy in America. He's made himself the face of the things that before were amorphous and ethereal, and who knows who's like making these things like that. But like, no, now we all know it's people like Elon, and I think that's one of the reasons why Trump kind of still keeps him around, even if he doesn't talk about him on Truth Social, because he's a very useful scapegoat. Elon is a very useful scapegoat scapegoat for the billionaire class to be like, no, we're different from this guy. He's a very useful scapegoat for Trump when it comes to like the negative decisions that he makes. Like some people even kind of blame Elon for the tariffs, which he has nothing really to do with. Right. Like because he's just so personally unlikable that it's easy to blame him for those sorts of things. And so I think he has that value there too.
Yeah, when you talk about like Elon's promises and how that's kept Tesla afloat, it's basically it's made him the richest man in the world. First, the subsidies that governments have given him, and I would say that the Obama administration was a huge part of that.
$3 billion for Tesla.
There you go. And now it's we see again the inefficiencies of the way that companies that are just searching for investment operate in terms of allocating resources, because Elon was making those promises to get investors. Yeah. And he was lying about it. He was lying that the self-driving car was right around the corner. He was lying about the transportation initiatives that he was engaging in, the Hyperloop or whatever.
Yeah, the Hyperloop capabilities, that it wouldn't just be for Tesla cars, but that there'd be some sort of replacement for a subway.
Right. And so when you're just basically trying to attract investment, you are incentivized to overpromise. That's been the whole tech sector. That's the Theranos model.
That's the economy that we live in for the last 10, 20 years.
Yeah, and it's the economy that we have engendered, and Elon Musk is just the successful Elizabeth Holmes in that way. And so the Locked in the Lockbox writes in saying BYD is not the product of central planning at all. It's the product of a highly competitive EV market created by Chinese industrial policy, which I'm sorry to be a little bit confrontational about this, but you're contradicting yourself in the same sentence, is because the centralized planning was about creating the highly competitive market that you describe and incentivizing it. The Chinese did that within their own domestic context. If we had done that, right, with the protectionism. But my point is that was a way more efficient model to plan that competition than to plan to give our already existing billionaires a bunch of subsidies without really any strings attached. And that's what we've created with Elon.
Well, I think just to piggyback off that point, just put a bow on it. Like we don't, because you mentioned this before, versus the centralized economy in China. It's like we don't have a free market in the United States of America. There's never been a free market in the history of markets. There's always been a market markets have always had government interference. When the government builds roads that allow people to trade more efficiently, that the market is no longer free, right? Just by nature of the infrastructure the government builds. And we don't even have that level of interference more. We just have a crony capitalistic system now. Yep. And so we don't even get the best products as the result of the mythology of a free market. We don't even have an option of that. We have a series of syndicates and conglomerates and like monopolies that have carved out sectors for themselves that are basically entirely impenetrable to like competitors. And it's going to get worse because of the tariffs that Trump implemented. So like the free market has always been a myth, but it's gotten less and less free under like the neoliberal politics of the joint Democratic and Republican Party duopoly.
Which is because it's capitalism, like in the late 20s to the 30s, is not actually capable of delivering the type of life and demands for society. And for this entire time that anybody on this call has been alive, we have been trusting these type of people. Let's just play this Elon Musk from 1990. We have been making sure these types of people have their taxes cut so they're able to, live playboy lifestyles, supposedly in the name of innovation. What do they make for it? A bunch of surveillance technology so they can sell our identities to advertisers. Instead, where China is, again, killing us in cars. By the way, they're doing high-speed rail, too, so they're doing fucking both of that.
Yep.
Can we do one of those? They're doing both of that. In addition to, like, oh, by the way, just one of our small hedge funds did AI almost as well as any of that. But instead, we've been making sure these people have all the money and all the say in where investment priorities go.
I expect to receive a car that I've just bought, which is called McLaren F1. There are 62 McLarens in the world, and I will own one of them.
It's $1 million for a car.
She's not around anymore.
Wow, I can't believe it's actually here. It's pretty wild, man. This is definitely very cool. I like it a lot.
Congratulations.
Just 3 years ago, I was showering at the Y and sleeping on the office floor. And now, obviously, I've got a $1 million car and quite a few creature comforts. It's just a moment in my life. Okay. My values have changed, but I'm not consciously aware of my values having changed.
My fear is that we become spoiled brats.
Well-founded.
You're not going to be
Lose
there.
a sense of appreciation and perspective.
As he looks at his McLaren.
It's the perfect car for Silicon Valley. It really is.
Yeah,
There it is, gentlemen, the fastest car in the world.
And I would just contrast that with a piece by Alex Skopik in Current Affairs that I talked about with on Left Reckoning. China knows how to deal with its billionaires. And he's not the only one. According to Business Insider, China has 432 ex-billionaires whose wealth and power have waned since 2021, thanks to a combination of market downturns and Communist Party intervention. That's roughly a third of the billionaires the country has had at its peak. So not only is it doing cars better than us and high-speed rail better than us, it is, and also, not supporting the genocide in Palestine as much as we are, it is also making ex-billionaires and not really worried about its stock market as the main sort of issue in its economy. It's just building things, abundance, you might call it.
God, and he's been doing that shtick about where he sleeps and how he just doesn't care about money in any way since the 90s, I guess.
Never mind me unloading a McLaren, a one of 62 McLaren. I actually have a pretty meager existence where I sleep on a cot.
Right. He was like sleeping on the floor of some DC office building as he was cutting grandma's Social Security. And it's like, okay, yeah, the cot's a little easier to sleep on when you've when the K hits your system. But anyway, just in theory.
Well, he crashed that car anyway because he drives like shit. And that's what inspired the full self-driving mode. I think he crashed that car at some point.
Oh wait, that might be true actually.
All right, we're gonna fact check that, but I would not trust him to drive me around.
Hey folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.